Hello everyone, this is Yatuzo with DNB Academy, and in today's video we're going to be looking through a sound recreation project for the tune 10 Ton, created by Substance. So without further ado, let's get into the project. Hey, so before we get started, let me go ahead and show you the tune that we're going to be going through today.
This one heavy like 10 tons, so when I drop it on the spot, you know I bring the vibe higher. Fully loaded, ready, never folding. Active when I'm on a mission, check the stats, we leave you floating. It's vacant then it's open, shaky then it's broken. Madness when I envision all this Cali that I'm smoking. Trample like an elephant, sticking to the regiment. None of them do it better for the gal, them looking elegant than me. On my day ones, on screen with the bait ones. Bring the vibe higher when we drop it like 10 tons.
Cool. Okay, so this is what the example sounds like with the basses that I've recreated.
Roll up, take away your empire. Heavy artillery, we bring the ball of fire. Roll up, take away your empire. Heavy artillery, we bring the ball of fire. Roll up, take away your empire. Heavy artillery, we bring the ball of fire. Roll up, take away your empire. Heavy artillery, we bring the ball of fire. Roll up, take away your empire.
So the notes that we are playing are actually D, D sharp, and then it plays around with an F sharp and D sharp for the variations. Now for the one-shot bass, I have it in F sharp, but we're going to be looking at the main bass first. Cool. So this is the bass. And I'm going to be showing you how I made this from zero. So let's go ahead and open a Serum and initialize the preset. And the first thing that you want to do is choose the sub saw here for the first oscillator. And we're going to set that to around 200 is okay. Then we're going to turn on oscillator B. And in oscillator B, you can choose the analog BD sine wave. And we're going to be pitching this up 2 octaves and 7 semitones. Then what you want to do is turn the level all the way down, and we're going to choose the FM from B option and put it to around 39% is fine. We're going to also map LFO1 to the FM from B and just modify it so that the value is around 25. Then what you want to do with the LFO1 is set it to trigger and set it to the rate of 2 bars. We want it to slowly and gradually increase. So as you can hear, it's already pretty much coming close to what the main bass sounds like. The next thing that we're going to do is turn on the filter. Make sure it's also modifying the B. So for this one, let's get LFO3 and also put a ramp on there. And don't forget the trigger button. Also, we're going to set it to the speed of 0.5 hertz. And map it to the cutoff of the filter. Also turn on the legato and always, and set the portamento amount to around 219 milliseconds. We also want to increase the drive and fat on the filter, along with a little bit of resonance. Then we're going to be using LFO2, and we're going to be setting this on the FN from B of the oscillator A and the level of the noise. We're also going to be setting it to the wavetable position, so there's a bit of movement there on oscillator A. And don't forget to put the trigger here on LFO2, and we're going to also set this to 2 bars. You also want to turn on the sub oscillator and add a bit more of a tack so there's no clicking at the beginning of the sound. Then we also set the random parameter here to 0. and we're going to go over to the effects tab. On the effects, we're going to add a bit of hyperdimension and turn down the mix to around 18-20%. It's going to be fine. You then add some soft clipping distortion. And you can drive that all the way up to around 90 or 85%. Then we are going to turn on the compressor and put on the multiband, along with taming down the highs a bit. Cool, so we're getting close. I'm also going to add a filter and a reverb after the filter. So for the mix parameter of the filter, we're going to set the LFO number 2 so that it gradually increases. And the filter, we're going to go over to the miscellaneous tab here and choose the reverb. Then you put the cutoff frequency to around 3,633 Hertz. Also adjust this parameter to around 22% and also increase the drive. You also want to decrease the decay on the reverb. And that would be it for the bass. Let me go ahead and show you what it sounds like again with some part of the drums off the original tune that don't have the bass in it.
Roll up, take away your empire. Heavy artillery, we bring the ball of fire. Roll up, take away your empire. Heavy artillery, we bring the ball of fire. Roll up.
Cool. Very cool. So now that we've got the main bass down, let's go ahead and show you the one-shot bass that I've layered on top of it. So this is what that sounds like. Cool. Okay, so let me go ahead and initialize the preset here, and I'll show you how I've made the sound. First thing that you want to go ahead and do is choose the Serum wavetable from the vocals, and you can set the wavetable position to around 223, 220. It's going to be fine. The next thing that you want to do is turn on oscillator B, and you have to choose a wavetable that says basic CJW, and we will be pitching both oscillators 1 octave, and oscillator A, we're going to add 7 semitones. You also want to turn down the level of oscillator B, and you could put it around 43 or 42 on the wavetable position. Next thing that you want to do is turn on the filter and choose a bandpass filter. Band 24 is just perfect. I'm going to add some drive, some fat, and some resonance. So this is what this sounds like at the moment. So what we want to do is add some more movement. So let's go ahead and load the first LFO. Kind of like a ramp, a curvy ramp shape here. And we want to set LFO 1 to the cutoff frequency. Put it in trigger mode. And we're getting closer there now that we have some movement. Also want to play with the amplitude envelope and make it quite short. So the next thing that you want to do is add FM from B. You can add it to around 48-47%. And since it is sounding very mono, we can add some stereo width to it just by modifying the unison here. We can add 12 voices to oscillator A and 3 to oscillator B. And the next thing that we're going to do is add some effects. So for the effects, we're going to add some distortion, some filters, some reverb, and some EQ. So we're going to add some distortion here, and we can increase the drive around 60, 65. Going to be okay. And we can also play around to see if soft clipping or tube sounds better. I'm going to go with tube here. You can also put the EQ behind the reverb and the filter as well without the reverb. And the filter as well behind the reverb. And we're going to cut some low end now, along with adding the LFO 1 to the frequency parameter here and onto the EQ. So you can increase the drive here on the filter, and we can also put the formant filter from the miscellaneous tab Performance 1 usually works right. And you can set the cutoff around 1,000 or 26, 1,100. Depends on the tone that you're looking for. And in this case, I thought that this was a tone that fit more, you know, from the sound in the tune. So together with the main bass is what that sounds like. Cool. So the post-processing that I have on it is basically just cutting out the low end. I have a glue compressor here just to add a bit more of volume, and just an auto filter cutting out all the low end from around 382 hertz. And I have a EQ after that is cutting out all the low end at 220 hertz. After the EQ, I also have a convolution reverb with a very, very short decay. It's at 1%, and the size is at 54.3. And I have it set to the experimental type onto the ABLCR sweep 2. That's the impulse. And then I have also automated this. So after the sound kind of goes away, then I make sure that it's off. Otherwise, I don't want any of that reverb tail to stay there. And that would be it for the sound recreation. So apart from that, I hope that you have learned something from this video that you can use in your projects. Again, this is You Tuesday with DNB Academy, and I'll see you in the next one.